Hi, this is James Parsons Moore from InTouch CAD Management. Welcome to my little demonstration that I'm going to show you here. This is what I like to call Revit 101. Now basically, whenever I teach a basic course to people who are just starting to learn Revit, the first thing I do is try and break them of the habits from their previous piece of software. Usually this is AutoCAD or MicroStation. So what I do, I have this little kind of partition of my course which I use to transition them over from that. And it's basically just introducing them to the basic modification tools and just drawing lines and just playing with those things that are common to them in their native software and showing them how we do it in Revit. Once we've done that, I then make it basically a banned word to say the word AutoCAD, and we have strict rules on not saying it, punishable by making a brew. But obviously I can't make you guys do that. So if you can just look in and watch what I'm going to do. I'm basically going to show you how to draw the basics, lines, that kind of stuff, arcs, squares, rectangles, all the kind of stuff that you know. Okay, show you how to move them about, flip them around, rotate them, all the things that you'd think come easy, but if no one's ever shown you before, they can be quite difficult. We're also going to bring in there some of the kind of real basic constraints so that you can see how they work and kind of get a feel to how you can move things around quite easily within the Revit interface. Okay, now basically looking at it in the screen. Now you'll all recognise this from when you first open Revit. We've got the white screen, okay, which I like. Some people, but not very many, go to a black screen, but I personally prefer a white screen, and I know most people do. Now, the first thing I do whenever I open up a new version of Revit is take a look at my project browser over here and my properties. I don't personally like them over there on my left-hand side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move my properties just by simply clicking and dragging and dropping it over there. Okay, this is two things. First of all, it completely opens up both your project browser and your properties. This means it's easier to get to all of the tools inside them. You don't have to spend half your time scrolling up and down inside them, okay, because obviously they're all open. The second thing that it does is balances me up on the screen. I'm unbalanced enough, I don't need any more help on that department, so I kind of feel quite nice. I'm drawing straight in the middle of my screen and it all feels nice and comfortable. Okay. Now obviously what we're here doing is I've just simply created a very new, brand new project based on the standard template, the architectural template that comes straight out of the box when you get Revit. It's quite good. I start all of my courses that I teach straight from this template and basically build up projects based on this. Obviously when you work at practice, at any consultancy or contractors or anything, you're obviously going to have your own template, so it's going to look slightly different to this. But this is the one that comes straight out of the box with Revit when you get it. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start in what we call my floor plans level 0. Okay, and I'm just going to draw some lines. Now basically there's two types of lines in Revit. We have what we call model lines. Okay, and these can be found on your architecture tab and just here in the middle where it says model lines, just there. And we also have what we call detail lines, and these can be simply found on your annotate tab, and we come over to here to detail lines. Okay, now the difference being, detail lines are what we call view specific. They will only show in the view that you're actually drawing. Okay, we tend to use those for doing the detailing side of it. Okay, then if we click on architecture and go to model lines, now these basically, they're part of the model. You can, if I draw a rectangle in this view just here now, and go to my isometric 3D view, for example, okay, I will be able to see that rectangle in an isometric view. Okay, for the case of this, it doesn't really matter which one we use, but I'm just going to use model lines just because it's easily available on my first tab when I first open it up. Okay, so I'm just going to click model line. Now the first thing you'll notice is how my ribbon changes straight away. Okay, now the ribbon is fantastic. It changes with everything we do and it always evolves to whichever task that we're trying to do. I love the ribbon in this. Okay, now from here we can choose different tools for drawing. Okay, we have lines, rectangles, different polygons, arcs, you know, that kind of stuff. We're going to come on to the rest of those in a minute, but basically all I'm going to do, I'm just going to concentrate on drawing lines. Okay, now to start off with my cursor, I'm just going to move it around and I'm simply going to left click on my screen to start it. Now all of this stuff may be feel like it's teaching you to suck eggs, okay, but I just want you to bear with me and just have a little look at how these things work. Now first thing you notice is I move my cursor around, okay. We have very similar to the dynamic input in AutoCAD, and what it does, it shows up on your screen. But the next thing you'll notice is that it keeps it nice and rounded up. Okay, I like this. Now because of the distance that we're zoomed out, basically it's rounding it up to every 100mm as we move it. If I'm zoomed in a little bit closer, okay, you can see actually as I'm moving it, it rounds it up to a smaller precision. Okay, it's quite a nice little feature. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to come across here, I'm just going to bring my mouse across, and you can see it's bringing it and it's snapping to the horizontal on there. Okay, we don't have an ortho mode or polar mode or anything like this, but it does keep it quite nice. If I snap to say the closest 45 degrees and 90 degrees, you see how it snaps to it. What we can also do, if for those who are sticklers for drawing right angles and vertical and horizontal lines, if I hold in the shift button as I move my mouse around, it will actually lock it in to those. So those of you that really feel like you need to do that, we can simply do that. Just for now though, I'm going to keep it a little bit more freeform. So I'm going to come across here, and let's just say I want to draw a line 15 metres across. I'm just going to draw it across there. You see, when it gets to 15 metres, I'm simply going to left click. There we go. There's my first line. Wasn't so painful. 15 metres across. Very good. Okay, now I'm going to come down. Now I'm just going to bring my mouse straight down. This time, instead of moving my cursor to where I want to put it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually type in the number. Okay, I'm going to do it in millimetres, just the same as we normally do. I'm going to just type in, let's just say 12,000. Enter. There we go. We're just drawing another line coming straight down at 12 metres. Okay, this is all basic stuff, I know it is. But let's just go across just here. Now let's just say this time we want to come across, I don't know, 9 metres. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to type 9. But instead of writing 9,000, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to write 9M. Then press enter. And what it will do, it will automatically convert it, if I'm moving mouse across, to 9,000 millimetres. It automatically converts it to that. Okay, so nice little feature. I really like it. Okay, now for those of you that are kind of a bit more old school out there, personally I'm not old school, but I've worked with some old school guys. I work with my dad quite a lot, who happens to be a builder, and is always saying to me, James, can you get me that bit of 4x2? Jim, that meant to be 15 foot wide. I'm like, Dad, what the heck is 15 foot? Just tell me, speak English, man. Well, instead of getting my calculator out and trying to convert things, okay, what you can do in this, if I've got to draw a line, let me just come down here, I'm just going to pan down here at 15 foot. What I can do, if I just bring my mouse down to the direction I'm going to go, I can write 15. And if I put an apostrophe afterwards, press enter, it will actually draw a line 15 foot, but it will do it in millimetres, okay? I know, it's a great little tool, okay? And let's just say something, we want to draw something across, and we know it's got to be 300 inches, okay? We can go 300 inches, you know, the standard sign. Done. So I know 300 inches is basically 7,620 millimetres, and it just changes it automatically for you, okay? I love this. Now, basically, as I move my mouse around now, I'm going to come up just here and just watch what happens. As soon as I get in line with that line, okay, there'll be a little dashed line come across telling me that I'm in line with it, okay? So I can simply left click just here now. Perfect. And if I come across here, okay, I'm just going to come across there and in line with that one there, and it's done exactly the same just there. Beautiful. And this time I'm going to come across here at a 45-degree angle, and look, even at a 45-degree angle, as soon as I get in line with the ends of that line, even if it's the end of the line, it's actually in line with the line, okay, it will still recognise that it is vertically aligned to that. So now I'm going to left click again. There we go. Now just moving my mouse around here, we've got our standard CAD snaps, you know, our object snaps. They're the same symbols as they are in AutoCAD as well. We've got our midpoints, we've got endpoints, we've got lots of others, okay? Now, I'm just going to click on the endpoint of this line. Oh, what we also have as well, if we just look down here at the bottom of my screen, okay, we can see it says SZ to close loop. Now, this is very similar to in AutoCAD, how we press C, enter to close any loop or chain that we're in. Works slightly different. If I just press SZ, okay, just the key punching in SZ on my keyboard. What you see is the lines come around and basically snapped it to the start of where I started that chain. Now all I do just to input that is left click. And you can see it's just finished that chain. A little dimension popped up just here. We'll come back to those and what they are in a few minutes, okay? But as you can see, what it's done, it is basically just drawn a chain around where I want to do it. It's what we call a chain, okay? Now, what I'm going to do, you see, now that I've closed the chain, it's kept me in the command. I'm still in the modify place lines command, okay? But it's basically lifted my pen off of the screen. I'm no longer placing a point. I can start again over here, obviously, and start drawing. Now, as you can see, basically, as I'm drawing around, it's just continuing drawing lines. That's because this little button over here is picked, okay? It's just a little tick box. I like these little tick boxes. They're all over Revit, okay? We don't have system variables quite so much where you've got to type in a command and then it's 0 for off, 1 for on, okay? It's just a little tick box. If it's ticked, it's on. If it's unticked, it's off, okay? So again, I'm just going to finish that just there. Now let's just have a little look over here, see what happens when we don't have chain on. Okay, so I'm going to go do that. Line there. And you see it's lifted my pen off the board, so to speak, okay? So I'm just drawing separate lines here, like so. Now, again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick chain, zoom out a little bit, and draw some lines across here. Now, as we're drawing, okay, what I can do, I can lift my pen off the board, okay, by pressing escape just the once. If I press escape once, it will keep me in the command, okay, but basically lift my pen. If I want to carry on now, I just carry on. So it kind of gives you the feeling of, you know, being able to lift your pen off the board quite nicely, okay. What I try and teach people to do though, as much as possible, is stay away from the escape button, okay. I don't like people hitting the escape button too much in Revit. I know we do it a lot in AutoCAD. It's the only way to kind of cancel out of things. One of the things I always used to want in AutoCAD when I used it all the time was a little button that did exactly that. I used to go and buy quite expensive mice so that I could program one of the buttons to do escape on the side of it, okay? But basically what we have on our screen here, we have this button here, it's called Modify, okay? If we hit Modify, it will basically just cancel you out of any task that you are doing there and then, okay? There's a couple of tasks it won't do, which we'll get onto on later videos, but most kind of actual tasks that you do, hitting Modify will just simply, it's just the same as pressing escape in AutoCAD, okay? I like that. One of the reasons I try and get people to do that is because from years of sitting there with basically my middle finger on escape and my thumb on spacebar, as most people sit in AutoCAD, okay, I get quite bad RSI in my left wrist, okay. I know it's a bit of a wimpy injury and I wish I could say I got it from something a little bit more heroic, but unfortunately I didn't, okay. Don't go around telling too many people, but that's the situation. Now I don't want you guys getting the same injuries, so I just tend to sit there with a cuppa in my left hand and just have a little, so I'm going to have a little sip right now. Lovely, okay, and then you can quite simply just draw away nice and relaxed using your keyboard and using your mouse and cursor. Okay, now once we've drawn those lines in, okay, what I want to do, I want to show you how to select them. When we're in modify mode, it's basically our selection mode. It means that we can start picking things on the screen, and you can see my cursor is basically now a pointer to allow me to pick. Okay, now as I move my mouse around, whenever I get over anything, can you see how it changes? Okay, it just thickens a little bit. Sometimes it can go a little bit translucent, okay, and it also changes colour. Now you can change it to whatever colour you want. I'm just keeping it by default at the minute, okay. But let me just look at this a second. Now, when it does that, that's what we call a soft select. Okay, you see I move my mouse away, it goes, move it back over it, it comes back, okay. Now basically what soft select means, it means if something is soft selected, left clicking on my mouse will select that object. Now I know that sounds pretty obvious, just bear with me for why I'm telling you that, okay. So if I hover over that line and left click, you see it's picking that line. Again, we have these little dimensions to turn up, okay. We're going to come back to those in a little while, so please just ignore them just for now. Okay, and can you see my line has changed colour? I've got mine set to quite a nice kind of camp magenta pink colour just there right now, okay, but if I then hover over this line and left click, you see it's going to select that line, but as you can see it's dropped my previous line, it's dropped the previous selection. So as I carry on picking, you see what it's doing, it is simply dropping the previous selection. Now I've just done it by accident there, but basically what I was going to show you next is if I pick on nothing, okay, it still drops a previous selection. So I'm just going to click in that empty space, okay, and as you can see it's dropped the previous selection, still doing it that way, okay. Now that's quite good because it means if I'm going right, okay, there we go, hover that, oh no, you know what, I didn't want to actually select anything. Instead of either hitting escape or coming up to modify, I can quite simply just click on nothing and it will again drop the selected objects, okay. Now what if we want to select multiple objects? What we can do, we can left click on it, and if we hold in Control on our keyboard, okay, can you see how my cursor changes? Right? It has a little plus sign next to it. Now it's a standard Microsoft thing, okay. You can basically now add to the selection. You can see it's just simply just adding those objects to the selection. Okay, my aim's a little bit off, I keep missing, I must try harder. Okay, just like so. Now again, just like standard Microsoft, holding in Shift, see how my cursor changes, we have a little minus sign next to it, okay? And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to carry on selecting. And can you see how it's removing them from the selection? Okay? Simple. Okay, now on top of that, other ways that we have of selecting things, okay? Now this is one of my favourite little parts of Revit. Now basically we use the tab button quite a lot in Revit. We'll get into it a little bit more later on, but what tab means, it means we're cycling through different things that we can select. Okay. Now, when you've got a chain of anything, in this case we've got lines, model lines. Okay, but this can be the same for pipes, it can be the same for walls, same for boundary lines, lots and lots of different things. But okay, whenever we've got anything that is basically been drawn in a chain and they're joined at the end, this works like this. Now, if I hover over one of those lines or walls or pipes or whatever it is, ducts or anything that is part of a chain, okay, if I just simply hit my tab button, don't hold it down, okay, if you hold it down, what happens is this. Can you see how it's flashing? Okay, it's basically kind of choosing very quickly between them. It's just rotating between different things that we can select. So literally all you do is just touch the tab button, okay? And when you touch the tab button, can you see how every single line within that chain, okay, soft selects? Now, can you remember, if we go back a couple of minutes, what I said was anything that is soft selected, if you just left click, it will select that, okay? Well, this is why it does it. If I just left click now, okay, it's just basically going to select all the lines or elements of whatever they are within that chain. Okay, I'm just going to unselect them by clicking in a space. Now, just little mistakes people make. They quite often go, right, hover over it, hit tab, then move their mouse. Because it's only soft selected, okay, it's only a soft select, it's a temporary selection. If you move your mouse off it, it's going to drop that. So just have a little practice of it, okay? Hover over it, hit tab, left click. Again, hover over it, hit tab, left click. Fantastic, okay? So again, that's another way of selecting things. Now, I'm just going to zoom out a touch, okay? Now, another one, windows, okay? In CAD, in AutoCAD, we always use windows selecting things, okay? And it's very, very similar in this. If we move our mouse over to the left, okay? And this time, instead of left clicking, what we do, we left click and hold, okay? If we left click and hold and just start to move my mouse down to the right. Now, I'm going to move it slowly. And it works exactly the same as AutoCAD. Can you see, just there? It will only select something, or in this case, soft select at first, okay? Something that I am completely covering, okay? Keep going, and you can see how that's working. Okay, I'm just going to drop it to there, like so. And you see how it selected these objects because the window completely covered them, okay? This time I'm going to go from right to left, and again I'm just going to left click and hold and drag my mouse. And you see this time it looks like a slightly different window, again similar to AutoCAD, okay? Remember, after showing you all this stuff, AutoCAD is a swear word, okay? But I will keep referring back to it just for now, just to help you in this transitional phase, okay? So as you can see, the window is basically a dashed one, and as you've probably already guessed, the dashed one will basically highlight or soft select anything that it touches. It's more aggressive, it's quite nice. I quite often do it when I want to select everything. I just go bang, right, drag it over there. There we go. Everything's selected. Fantastic. Okay. Now, obviously, if I've done that and I just want to delete my lines, okay, what a wally, I've accidentally, okay, well, I say accidentally, it's accidentally on purpose, selected my elevation tags as well, okay. Now, obviously, from what I've already taught you, okay, and what I've already shown you, you can obviously take those away from the selection by holding in Shift and just reselecting it. You see how it's gone black? It's no longer my nice pink colour, okay? But what you can also do is this. Now, if we look up at the ribbon, okay, up here, we've got a box here that says Filter. Now, the filter box will only appear if you have different types of elements selected. In this case, I've got my line selected, and I've got my elevations. Now, the elevations are made up of two parts. We'll get into that in a second, okay? But it's got those selected as well. Just look here. If I just select lines like that, my ribbon will say Modify Lines. But as soon as I do that and select multiple types of elements, okay, you see it says Modify Multi-Select, okay? So therefore, we've got this filter box. Now, I love this filter box. I use it all the time. If I left click on the filter box, it's just going to bring up this little dialog, and it basically just shows you what elements you have selected and how many of them as well. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to untick views and elevations. Those are basically the two parts that these elevational tags are made up of, the elevations and views. Again, we'll get onto that later. Okay, so basically it's saying right now you've got selected lines, 24 of them. I press OK, and basically what it'll do, it will drop anything that you have unticked. Fantastic. Okay, now that I've unticked all of those and I've only got my lines ticked, what we're going to do, we're going to introduce your first modify command. Okay, the first modify command will be over here, and these are our modify tools. Okay, and it's this one just here, little red cross. Okay, pretty standard. Delete. They're all gone. Fantastic. Okay, so that's your first little bit of a lesson. Next, what we're going to do, I'm just going to zoom into this area here a little bit. okay? And we're going to do our next type of model line, okay? And to do that, again, I'm just going to click on model line, and this time, instead of drawing a line, what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a rectangle, okay? Pretty much standard CAD, okay? We drop in 2 points on our screen, or 2 vectors on our screen, and it'll just draw a right-angled line between them, okay? And this is how we do it. I left click on the rectangular mode, okay, and I simply start my rectangle and start moving it, okay. Now, as you can see, as I move my mouse around, we have these 2 little dimensions that pop up inside the rectangle, okay. These are what we call temporary dimensions. Temporary dimensions pop up all the time within Revit, okay, and they're always there. Okay, they're always helping us and they're fantastic, okay? And just like here, as you can see, I move my mouse around, it kind of gives you a good idea of both the horizontal length and the vertical length of this rectangle. Now, as you can see though, it's rounding it up, and it can be quite fiddly to go, right, I want it that size, no, yeah, no, yeah, no. Right, don't worry about that, just bang it in. Okay, we do this a lot in Revit, we just bang things in, okay? Once we've banged it in, it is so quick and easy to change, because as you can see on my screen there, I've finished drawing it, but those temporary dimensions stay on the screen, okay? What I can simply do now is left click on it, and then change it, remember, 16M for 16 meters instead of 16,000, okay? Enter, bang, it just quickly changed it. On this one here, I want to change that to 10 meters, 10M, enter, done, okay? Couldn't be simpler. So now it's just so easy. Like I say, you just move it to where you want and then just bang it in, and then we just change the size afterwards. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to hit my modify command up here. Those temporary dimensions are going to disappear. Right. So what now if I want to change the size of that rectangle? Okay, we don't have a stretch command in Revit. Okay, what we do is this. If I simply left click and select that line, can you see the temporary dimensions appear again? Okay, now this confuses some people when they first start using Revit. They're thinking, hang on a minute, I want to know the length of this line. I'm clicking on it, but what's it? Hang on, it's showing me the length of this line. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, what is it? It's not showing you the length of the line that or object that you're selecting. What it's doing, it's giving you the setting out of that line or element or object that you have selected. Okay, the fact that these 2 lines are here are completely irrelevant. If I just delete those 2 lines like that and still pick that line, it will still give me the setting out of that. Okay, in this case it has given me the length of it as well, but that's by the by for what I'm trying to show you. I'm just going to hit undo to bring those back. So basically now, by selecting that line, and then you can still pick the temporary dimension, and we'll just change that temporary dimension to a new distance. The object that we have selected will now move to accommodate the new input. Okay, couldn't be simpler. Okay, so this time I want to make it bigger vertically, but I want to do it by bringing this line here down. So I'm going to left click on this one, and I want to bring that down so that distance there is 12 meters. Enter, done, simple as. Okay, now on top of that, what we can do, if we highlight that line again, I'm just going to move my cursor around. I'm just going to hover over that line like that. And you can see as we hover over it, my cursor changes to like a little move icon. Okay. Now, yes, it is the move icon. However, it's slightly different. It's what we call press and drag. Okay. It's just dragging and dropping things around my screen. Okay. So all I'm going to do now is left click and move. Okay. I'm just dragging it. Okay. You can see I'm dragging it in this direction just here, even if I move my mouse up and down. Okay. It's basically what we call constrained. Okay. It's constrained by this line and this line. They're basically saying, right, okay, yeah, we'll let you go in that direction, but we're not moving. We'll stretch with you, but we're not going to be that accommodating that we're just going to go wherever the heck you want to go. Okay, so we're just going to stretch in this direction. Now, when you've got one object highlighted like this, obviously we've got the temporary dimension showing, so it's obviously quite easy to just go, right, you know what, I want that 12 meters across there. Bang, there we go. We've now got a 12 by 12 rectangle, obviously a square. Okay, now what happens when I select all of them? Okay, obviously when you select all of them, there's no temporary dimension just there. Basically, when you select more than one object, we don't have any temporary dimensions come up. Okay, now obviously if we've got that basically and we do a press and drag, there's nothing there. It is simply a way of just dragging something and dropping it into position. We do that more than you think within Revit. Okay, we just drag something, bang it where we want to put it, and then we just tweak it up afterwards by using things like our temporary dimensions just to basically manipulate it. And we also use some other tools that I'm going to bring in a little bit later on. Okay, so just for now, I'm just going to drag that into the middle of my screen there and just left click in the middle just to drop whatever I'm doing. Okay, so that's just a press and drag way of moving. What we also have is this. If I select that object there, okay, now what you're already noticing, as soon as I select anything, okay, my modify tools, modify lines, my modify tools here always appear. Absolutely anything that we do in Revit, every single task, whether we're selecting something or drawing something, okay, our modify tools are there. Now with our modify tools there, like I say, if you learn, you probably recognise all of these. These are basically just our simple modification tools. We have the move command. Okay, now the move command is basically exactly the same as the move command within AutoCAD. So I'm going to take the move command, because I've highlighted the object first and gone move, okay, the object that I selected, that is now what we're moving, okay, it is our pre-selected object and we are just going to be moving it, okay. So just like, again, with AutoCAD, all we do, we pick a base point. We can pick it off of the object if we want, okay, because the distance between them always remains relative. And I'm just going to move my mouse in that direction. Let's just say I want to move it across there, 6 meters 6, enter. What it's done, it's just moved that line across 6 meters, okay, nice and easy. Okay, let's just say I want to move it back 3 meters. Again, move. I can pick it on the object if I want. It doesn't matter. I want to move it back across here 3 meters. I can do it just by the input on the screen. Left click, done. Simple as that. Okay, let's take the entire object just here. Okay, and let's just say, right, I want to move it from the midpoint of here to here. Done. Let's just say I want to double the size of this. I'm going to go highlight that, move from this base point here all the way across there, and obviously that is just double the size of that rectangle. Okay, nice and simple. I won't go into that too much more. Okay, now let's look at that a little bit more and let's use our copy tools. Okay, because copying, again, we've got copying tools just in here, the same as any other CAD software. Okay, because we always need to copy and duplicate things. Okay, this time I'm going to highlight everything here. I'm just going to go copy. Okay, and again, it works almost identical to AutoCAD. Okay, I'm going to pick a base point and I'm just going to move my mouse around. I'm just going to drop it on that corner just there. Okay, done. Now what it does, it keeps selected the last object that you placed or plonked onto your screen. Okay, as you can see. Now you may note it's dropped me out of the copy command. Now you may be thinking, hang on, that's a bit duff. We brought in multiple select in AutoCAD years ago. Okay, yeah, well this has got multiple select as well. Okay, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to go copy, but then before I choose my base point, just over here, okay, we have our multiple tick. Okay, so now I'm just going to pick that point there and there and there and there. Nice and simple. Okay, hit modify to come out of it. There we go. Lovely. Simple copying. Obviously we can do it distances as well, the same way as we did the move command. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just Control Z a couple of times just to bring me back to one rectangle. Okay, now let's take this a little bit further. Now, so that I can orientate myself on the screen a little bit for you guys more, because we're dealing with a rectangle here, but it's nearly a square shape. Okay, what I'm going to do my mirroring and rotating. Now, because we've got a fairly square shape on the screen, I'm just going to draw a line going through the object so that we can orientate ourselves. So again, I could go model line and draw a line, but I just want to introduce to you another way of drawing something. Okay, basically, I'm just going to pick that line just there. Look at my ribbon, and we have this button just here. It's on our create tag. Just here, tab, sorry. And we have just here something called create similar. This isn't just lines, this works for anything, okay? Whether it's a door, a window, a floor, beams, columns, ducting, piping, anything. Whatever you select, if you go create similar, it will basically take you straight into the command to place that exact same type and object that you basically selected, okay? So in this case, it was a model line. So now I'm just going to draw another model line from here down to there, hit modify, done. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select all of those objects just there. And then on my ribbon up here, we've got the rotate command. Okay, I'm going to hit the rotate command. Now what you'll notice is that there's got now a little blue dot in the middle of my object. Now basically what happens is, as soon as you hit rotate, what it does, it places the pivot point, the base point, to the dead center of all of the objects that you have selected. Okay, obviously this point up here, because I've done a rectangle line going through it, the center point of this rectangle is dead in the middle of this line. Okay, that's fine. Now obviously in AutoCAD now, basically what happens is it gives you your first line of reference straight out to the right hand side, like the 3 o'clock location. Okay, and then it's just asking you to give you basically the angle. Okay, in this one what happens is it allows you to give you to put in your first point of reference. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be a bit of a rebel. I'm going to come in the completely opposite direction. I'm going to start over here, left click. And then I just rotate it around either this way, counterclockwise or clockwise, it doesn't really matter. You can obviously just input the angle just on the screen just there, okay? Just come around every single degree, okay? But let's just say I'm just going to rotate that 90 degrees up there, left click, done, okay? And again, it's still highlighted, so my modify tools are still up here, okay? So again, I'm going to rotate. This time I'm going to rotate it around, okay? But this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to type in 90, enter, done. Okay, now what I'm going to do this time, I'm just going to go rotate. I'm not going to look at my screen. You're going to have to believe me that I'm not looking at my screen here. I'm not cheating, okay, I promise, okay? But not looking at my screen, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click 2 points on my screen. Okay, now I have no idea what that angle is. Okay, now let's just say this geometry that I've got on my screen, I just want to correct it back up. I just want to horizontalize it, okay? I'm not even sure if horizontalize is a word, but it seems to be appropriate for what we're going to do just here. Now I'm just going to make it horizontal on my screen. Now in AutoCAD, basically you'd have to then do a rotate with a reference and pick some other points on one of the lines and bring it back up. What we do is this: we go rotate. Okay. Now this pivot point, this base point, isn't basically constrained and locked in the middle of this geometry. That's just the default of where it goes. So what I'm going to do, if I hover over it, you can see how my reference line disappears. That's because now what I can do is I can simply left click and drag and place that anywhere I want. Okay, I just snapped it to that corner. And what we can do, because Revit asks you for your first point of reference, how polite, okay, we can simply just click that line just there and choose that to be our first line of reference. Then as we move our mouse around, okay, we can just come around and we can just place it just there, completely horizontal. Clearly I must have rotated it around a massively random 25.751 degrees. Left click, that is now completely horizontal again. Okay, fantastic, lovely and easy. Right. While it's still selected, let's move on to our mirror commands. So our mirror commands work like this. We basically up here have two mirror commands. We have mirror draw axis, and right next to it, its best friend, we have mirror pick axis. Okay. Start off with, let's use mirror draw axis. Okay. Again, this works very similar to AutoCAD. Okay. We're drawing an axis to mirror our object across. Okay. I'm basically just going to draw a line from here going straight down. 90 degrees like that, done. And it's just mirrored it across that, okay? I'm going to Control Z that, highlight it again. Again, we're going to go mirror draw axis, and I can draw over that line, doesn't matter, just there, done. It's just going to mirror it across it, okay? And again, I'm just going to highlight that. I'm going to mirror this from this corner just here, 45-degree angle. Again, it's just mirrored it across there at a nice 45-degree angle, easy peasy. Again, I'm just going to Control Z, come back into it. Little tip just here. Let's just say I want to mirror it with a gap. Okay. If you move your mouse horizontally just here to say a meter, left click down. We know that there's a 2 meter gap between. It tells a 2 meter gap by highlighting that line. You will see the temporary dimension turn up and tell me there's a 2 meter gap between that line. 2 meters, 2000 millimeters. Okay. Nice and simple. Again, go back to where I was. So that is basically mirroring with a picked axis. Okay, what I'm going to do now is show you mirror draw axis. So we highlight our objects, okay, and we're going to go to this one this time. Now basically what it does, it asks you just to basically pick an axis that is already on the screen. So if I just want to flip it across there, done. Okay, if I want to highlight all of those, again I'm just going to hold in shift just to deselect that just there. I'm going to go mirror draw axis, but before I do it this time, okay, before I actually pick my axis, I'm just going to untick this button here. Watch what happens. There we go. By unticking that, it just basically, it's like pressing yes, delete at the end of the mirroring command in AutoCAD. It just basically removes the first one, the object that you've got selected during the mirror. Okay? Everybody good with that? Fantastic. Right. What I'm going to do again, I'm just going to Control Z back a couple of stages just to take me back to my rectangle. Okay? Right. Now, offsetting. Now, offsetting, it works a little bit different to the modify commands that we've done so far, because we don't actually have to select the object first to tell it that we're going to offset it, okay? Now, what we could do, we could just come across here to our modify commands, because we've got a tab up here for modify commands, and go to offset. But what I like to do, I very often just select an object on my screen. It can actually be any object, but what I do, just because it seems to make logical sense in my little head, okay, is I pick the object that I want to do it anyway. So don't think that just because I'm picking this object, that is the object that I'm going to want to offset. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick the object, and my modify tools are going to appear. But then I'm going to come up here to offset. It's a little cloud or a little, someone said it looks like a mitten, someone wearing mittens sticking their thumb up, okay? Standard offset command. I'm going to pick offset, but as you can see, it's dropped the selection anyway, okay? Now there's a couple of ways of doing an offset. I'm just going to show you the simple one to start off with, okay? Now basically all we do up here, okay, we set our distance that we're going to offset it, okay? Once I've done that, okay, I'm just going to basically hover over an object. And as you can see, it soft selects the side that is going to offset it. Just simply moving my mouse around a little bit here, okay, will show you the side that is going to offset it. It's a bit of an art form. It takes a bit of use to getting used to because people quite often when they first start doing it, click on the wrong side, okay? But basically I'm going to offset this around the outside. I'm going to click there, done. I'm going to come over here, left click, joined it up, beautiful. Oh, and here, it's joined it up. Lovely. Let's have a look, see what happens on the inside. So I'm going to hover over that again, left click. Fantastic. Doesn't seem to have done it there. It's a bit of a nuisance. It does that in Revit, okay? Don't worry too much about it. I'm going to show you little things that we can do later on to get around it, okay? But as if I keep going around, okay, it's a little bit random. It is something I'd like to see them change, okay? Because it makes so much more sense to do it the same way as we did with the outside where it just joins up automatically, okay? What I'm going to do, I'm just going to undo a few stages. Okay, and to there. Now this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to hover over that. Now can you remember this little fella? What we're going to do, we're going to hit my tab button. Soft selects everything in the chain and shows you exactly how it's going to offset it. Left click, done. Let's try it on the inside. Hover over it, hit tab, left click, done. Hover over it, hit tab, left click, hover over it, hit tab, left click. Quite therapeutic. I'm nodding off. Okay, but you get the idea. It is lovely and easy. Okay, again, I'm going to hit modify and I'm simply just going to undo these little offsets. Okay, fantastic. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to look at our trim tools. Okay, now we've got trim tools in this, but they work ever so slightly different to how they do in AutoCAD. So I'm just going to show you how these work. Okay, before I do that, I'm just going to draw some more linear geometry. I'm going to select a line, that's already there. Create similar, I'm going to draw a line across there like that. And I'm just going to draw a line down there like that, another line down there like that. Don't worry about the fact that it's hitting these markers, okay? I'm just going to draw a line from there to there to there, okay? And then I'm going to hit modify. I'm going to hit modify properly this time, okay? Now, what we're going to do, we're going to have a look at our different trim commands. Now, they're up here. I've stayed on the modify command up here just so that I can do it quite regular. Now, I'm going to hit this one first. Now, this is a tool we use absolutely loads in Revit, okay? It's basically trim extend to corner. It works very similar to the fillet or chamfer with a 0 radius or 0 distance in AutoCAD. Want to trim these two little bits away, neaten this corner up, select that line, cuts it away. Same in this bit, it keeps me in there, okay? It keeps me in the command, select that line, hover over that one and actually soft select and show you how it's going to do it. Left click, done. Couldn't be easier, very, very simple. Okay, just Control Z to take that away from there a little bit, okay? Right, now, next to it just here, we have this tool. It's called Trim Extend Single Element, okay? Now, basically what I do, the first line or object that I pick becomes both the trimming edge and extending boundary at the same time, okay? Now, the next line or object that I select will either trim or extend to it, depending on which the situation is, okay? Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing to you when you first start using it, because what it does, you basically pick the part you want to keep if you're trimming it. Okay, obviously in AutoCAD you pick the part you want to trim away. So again, I'm going to pick that line and pick that bit. It's not uncommon for you to trim trim away the bit you want to keep in this. Okay, or sorry, keep the part you wanted to trim away. It's quite common when you first start using it, but you do get used to it, I promise. Okay, in this one here, again, I'm going to pick that one just there, and then I'm just going to hover over this line. You see how it's soft selecting to extend it up. So even though it's missing the line, it will extend it up to the plane that it sits in, like that. Okay, and again, pick that one to there. Okay, I can pick that one and extend that. Pick it and extend it. And it's obviously I'm having to do it one after the other because it is the single element mode. Okay, again, I'm just going to undo a few of those stages. Okay, this time I'm going to do the trim extend multiple elements, and again I'm going to pick this one. Now I haven't pressed enter or anything, it's literally just the first line or object that I pick. Okay, then that will basically, in multiple objects, elements, it will basically stay the trimming edge and extending boundary all the time until I come out of the command. So anything that I select will either trim or extend to it, depending on the situation, or like I've just done there, clicked on nothing, it will drop that. Okay, now here's a little kind of thing from me. Okay, I rarely use these two. Okay, because what I want to do, if I want to trim away at a corner, okay, or extend at this corner, you always use the trim extend to corner tool. Okay, whereas if I want to bring that line back to there, all I simply do is pick the line and just grab that grip and just drag it back. Okay, so I rarely use that. Now I'll show you it because obviously it's a tool in there, and there may be situations where you want to use it. Okay, but like I say, I rarely use it, but everybody works in different ways. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove those outer lines around there. Okay, what I did there, a little bit sneaky, I pressed delete on my keyboard. It does exactly the same. Okay, I missed that line though because I'm a wally. Okay, let's just look in just here. Now, this situation just here, what I want to do, I want to trim away this little part in the middle. Okay, now as you've probably guessed using the two trim and extending tools, we were only able to pick one line to be either our trim line or our extending line. Okay, so what we do is this, we can't pick that line and that line and tell it to trim this little bit out. Okay, so what we're going to do is this, we're going to go to this tool just here, it's called split element. Okay, I'm going to left click on split element. Okay, basically what's just come up on my screen now, if you're not used to it, okay, I have my Revit set so that basically every 30 minutes it's going to come up and say, whoa James, what are you doing? You haven't saved this for 30 minutes, what the hell are you doing? Okay, do you want to quick save it? Yes please. I'm not going to save it in this situation because I don't want to save as. All I'm going to do is just press cancel. Okay, but obviously that's a bad habit. You should always save your work. Okay, there's not much worse than losing lots and lots of work. Dog poop between your toes. I found that's pretty much the only thing that is worse than it, but basically that is a problem. Everybody's done it where they've had a crash, lost loads of work. Save as much as possible. Okay, back to where we were. So I've gone split element. Now as I move my mouse away, first thing you'll notice is that my cursor, okay, is basically a little scalpel. Nice touch, okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to hover over the object or element or line in this case that I want to split, and I'm just going to left click in the middle there, okay. Hit modify, let's see what's going on, okay. As you can see, it's like breakup point in AutoCAD. It's just basically split those two lines. Split that line into two lines. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go trim extend to corner, pick that line, pick that line, pick that line, pick that line. Done. Nice and easy. Okay. Now once we've done that, what we're going to do, I'm going to start to introduce you to constraints. Okay. Just a couple of little constraints that we have inside Revit. Okay. Now I'm going to left click that line just there. And just like when we had a rectangle and we picked a line on the edge and it gave us our temporary dimension, giving you the setting out from another line, it's doing the same here. But because we've got lines either side of this one, it's giving you the setting out in both directions. Now I can quite simply, if I pick that and go 3 meters, you can see the line will move to accommodate that new input, and this one here will update. Now let's just say we want to set this line out from this line. We can quite simply grab my grip on the end of my temporary dimension, drag and drop it onto that line, and then we're setting it out from there. So let's just say I want it to be 8 meters from there. Done. And so there we are. I'm just going to drag it back up onto here for now. Okay. Once we've done that, we're going to look at this. We have this little tool just here. It's basically, if I hover over it, it tells you what it does, but it says make this temporary dimension permanent. Let's click it, show you how it works. Okay, I'm just going to click off of it, okay, so that obviously I'm dropping anything I'm selecting. As you can see, the dimension is still there, okay. It is now a permanent dimension. It's a proper dimension, as if we were drawing dimensions on our screen. If I hover over it, you can see how they're joined together. It's a running dim, it's a running dimension. They are joined together, okay. Now, let's try this. Let's just say, and this is what confuses people when they first start to use it, okay, so I'm showing you, okay. Let's just say you want to change that distance there now to, I don't know, back to 3 meters. What people do, when they've got a permanent dimension there, they go, right, yeah, so I'm just going to select the dimension. Okay, so it's selected that dimension. Let's pick the actual dimension again. Oh my hell, well, okay, what's going on here? What's that box? Panic. Okay, now basically what's happening is, that's a different mode, we'll come to that in a second. To move that line, you still have to select that line. Just watch what happens when I select it. Select that line, and you can see how the dimensions there, the actual text input has gone blue. It means you can pick the dimension, say 3 meters, done. Okay? Doing it the other way round, highlighting the dimension and then picking the box there, is basically our dimension text editor. Okay? let's just show you quickly what this is while we're here. Now basically we've got these two modes here, use actual value, okay, and replace with text. We've got text fields here, so just adding text above, a prefix, a suffix, and text below. Such as, I'll just, as an example, I'm going to put structural opening, go to my next one, approx, go behind it, millimeters, and you know, I don't know what to put underneath as an example, so we'll just put that, okay? When I press OK, as you can see just there, it's just added those to it. It's put the actual distance input in between it. If I grab that line and move it down, let go of it, you see it just updates it to what it is. Now, that's just disappeared. It's just a little glitch on my screen. If I just move my mouse, okay, just kind of just zoom in and out, it's gone. It's just a graphical little hiccup going on my screen, okay? Pretty obvious there how that works. I'm just going to Control Z that just to bring it back to the singular input, okay? Now, just the other part of it, okay? Replace with text. Now, let's just say I can't be bothered to move one of those lines and I just want to change the text input to say 2000, it's only 50 mil, 2950, 2000, oh, I've got to actually press in the box banana, 2950, okay. Right, now it won't let you do this, okay, good. I've had people working on projects that I've been running, okay, who have done that on a project, just simply change the dimension in it, in AutoCAD, change the dimension, okay, just to try and suit what they thought it would be, okay. The building got built, it was a bathroom, the bath didn't fit in the bath, okay, sorry, the bath didn't fit in the bathroom, okay. You should never ever override a dimension. I know most of you don't, you know, you don't need telling this, but there are some people out there who will do it. Revit, fortunately, okay, doesn't give you the option. It does not allow you to update it with another numerical input, okay? What this is for going things like TBC, void, that kind of thing, okay? So it's just writing that kind of thing in there, okay? Control Z, come back to where we were, okay? What I'm going to do now, I'm going to select that run of dimensions, okay? And going up to my ribbon just there, we have something here called Edit Witness Lines. Let me select that to show you what witness lines are. Okay. Now, if you look at my lines, you can see obviously they're all green, apart from the lines that are actually being dimensioned to. As you can see, they're now magenta. They are basically what we call the witness lines, the lines that are being dimensioned to, or faces that are being dimensioned to. Okay. What happens now is basically if you pick an existing witness line like this, look, it will remove that dimension from the run of dimensions, from the string of dimensions, okay? If you select a line that isn't being dimensioned to, it will add it to it. And see how that's working? Okay, I want all of them to be in here, so I'm going to do that. Now again, schoolboy error. What a lot of people do is either hit escape, hit modify, or press enter. That will just throw you out of the command, cancel what you've done. To finish it, what you do, you just click into a space, just like that, okay? So therefore now we've got a running dimension across here, basically showing you all of the dimensions across there. Now, while it's selected, let's get onto these little objects just here. First things first, this one here, we've got one called EQ. This is basically puts an equals constraint on. Watch. Beautiful. All it's done is equalise those distances, moving the objects that are being dimensioned to suit those equalled dimensions. Beautiful, okay? Now what happens is, if I just pick this and drag this out like this, can you see how they always want to stay equal? Okay, very nice. To remove that equals constraint, I just simply select the dimension again and cross through the equals. And as you can see, they're all 5,900, okay? Watch this. What I tend to do is this. I highlight it, put the equals constraint on it, and then delete it. Okay. Once you delete it, this little box here will appear. Okay. So basically saying, right, whoa, hang on a minute. It's giving you a little kind of warning and saying, what you're doing there is trying to remove a dimension with a constraint on it. Okay. Are you sure you want to do that? Okay. Obviously, you can cancel out of it. Okay. You can press unconstrain, and what will happen is it will remove the dimension and remove the constraint. Or if I press OK, what it will do, it will remove the dimension but keep the constraint there. So basically now if I pick a line that was basically involved in that constraint, like so, can you see we've still got my little equals tool just here. So if I just drag that down or up, okay, the equals constraint is still on. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to turn that equals constraint off. Okay, you get the idea. Oh, there we go. Again, what I'm going to do now is just put a quick dimension on one of these. Okay, I'm just going to go up here to my quick access toolbar or onto my annotate toolbar here and use an align dimension. We always usually use the align dimension. Now personally, I always use the align dimension. I cannot off the top of my head remember using a linear dimension for anything. I know in AutoCAD linear dimension is generally the king, but in this the align dimension is. It works very, very differently to how the align dimension in AutoCAD works. We'll get into all that at a later date, but basically it dimensions from a line or face or surface of an object. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to highlight that line there and that line and place that dimension. Okay, hit modify. Now I'm going to select that and then we see a little padlock symbol appear. If I lock it, watch what happens. I'm going to pick that line and just pull it down. And all it's simply doing is just basically constraining the distance between those two lines. You see that? Just there. Nice and simple. Okay. Again, works very similar. I can just, if I delete it, okay, it's going to come up with the same box. I'm just going to unconstrain it this time just to keep my constraints off. Okay. Last few things that we're coming to the end of it now. Probably getting bored of my voice, so we're just going to keep going to the last couple of tools. Okay. Now, I'm just going to hit my architecture tab. I'm just going to grab this line just here and just pull it over here. Now, the one that I'm going to show you now is basically, and this is a little bit sad, I feel a little bit ashamed of myself for saying it, but this is one of James's top 5 favourite tools in Revit, okay? I know it's sad, I'm a bit of a loser, but there you go. I've got to have it, it's my job. I have to get excited about these sort of things. In fact, it's no coincidence, I do get a little bit excited about it, a little bit overexcited about these things. But we're going to use what we call the aligned tool. You use this loads in Revit. I'm going to select any object just to bring up my modify tools. Okay, and then over here on my ribbon we have this tool here, it's called the align tool. I press the align tool. Now the first line that I pick will basically be the line that we are going to align to. And as you can see, these little vertical lines, this dashed vertical line has appeared along the plane that that line sits in. Now the next line that I pick will align to it. Beautiful. What we can also do whenever we do an align, it gives you the option to lock that into that alignment. Hit modify. I'm going to pick this line and just drag it. Can you see what's happening? Okay. It is very useful. You may not realise it right now. You may have little bits ticking away in your head thinking how the possibilities of that, but I promise you, you will use that all the time. It's like I say, I don't have something in my top 5 favourite tools for no reason. That one's definitely in there. Okay. Right, last couple of things. Curves, arcs, that kind of stuff, okay? Now obviously you see us do the trim earlier on, little trim, extend the corners, whereas that's kind of replacing the fillet at a 0 radius in AutoCAD. Now what if we want to do a fillet but without just bringing it to a point, doing it at a 0 radius, okay? What we can do is this. Now in AutoCAD it's a modification tool. In Revit it's not, it's a draw tool. It confuses people at first, but we're actually going to be drawing a fillet arc. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go architecture, model line. Okay, now the first one that we're going to go to is this one just here. Fillet arc. Okay, now there's 2 ways of doing a fillet arc. I'm going to show you both of them, don't worry. The first one is just here. What we're going to do, we're going to press the radius tool just here, and we're going to input in a radius. I'm just going to write 500 in here. I'm going to pick my first line, pick my second line, and you see it just puts a nice little 500 radius in there. I'm just going to do it again just to show you again, from there to there. Nice and simple. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to untick the radius tool. Okay, and then I'm going to pick this line and then this line. I'm just going to move my mouse. And you can see basically I'm manually putting in the radius that I can do. Okay, if I move my mouse outside of the area that you can actually use to put the radius in, it comes up with a little stop sign. And likewise, if I go too far, so that it's actually too far to fit the radius in along that geometry, the same will happen. So I'm simply plonking in the line where I want the radius to go. Now the first thing you know, as it's moving, the dimension's changing, but very unlike most of the things that it does in Revit, it's actually quite rough. Now normally what happens is, it obviously rounds it up or rounds it down to the closest 100, 20, depending on how far in you're zoomed to that. Now obviously, as you can see, it's doing it fairly rough. Now watch what happens when I actually left click. No fear, it does still round it up or down, okay? It doesn't matter anyway. Like I've already mentioned a couple of times, in Revit what we do, we just plonk things in. When we plonk them in, we can change them so quickly and easily afterwards. Just like this, I actually want it to be 4 meters. Enter, done. I want it to be 1 meter. Done. And when it will just join the lines back up with it, nice and easy. Even afterwards, if I pick this one up here, that says 500. If I want that to be 3.256 meters, enter. It will do that, and it will just join it up all nice and easy. Okay, I love that. The next one I'm going to show, I'm just going to show you a couple more things. Okay, we've got some arcs in here. I'm just going to show you one of them just to show you how it works. Okay, what we've got in here, we've got the 3-point arc, and it's called the start-end radius arc. Now, it's different to the 3-point arc in AutoCAD. The main difference being it actually works in this, and it's actually got some use when we're actually trying to draw something. Okay, now basically the reason it works so well is because it does it like this. Okay, let's just say I want to draw a nice half circle along this plane just here. What I'm going to do is this. Left click just there, then come down to here and left click. And what it does, you can actually draw in the radius, but it will snap to the tangent point, giving you the same radius to equal the diameter between the 2 lines that we've picked. Done. Perfect half circle from there to there to there. Perfect half circle. Okay, what I'm now going to do, I'm going to hit modify, pick that line, holding control, pick that line, and simply delete those 2 lines. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a tiny bit, hover over that and hit tab, just to show you how those lines are now all part of the chain that we're working in. Okay, that's pretty much it for what I wanted to show you on that. Like I say, this is just what I do at the beginning of every course. I spend just like an hour and a half just playing with these things. You can't assume that everybody knows how to do this when you first start doing it. Just because they know how to do it in AutoCAD or MicroStation or Vectorworks. They're all very, very similar, but they're all subtly different. You may like some of the tools that are using here. You may prefer some of the tools that it has in your native CAD system. Now, before you kind of go into a rant about any of it, what I just want to say is that what we've drawn there, you will not be using those tools to draw much in the way of geometry. Most of the geometry that we draw in Revit comes based from the intelligent objects that we're throwing in. We use these lines to basically draw boundaries around things more than anything, okay? When we're putting in things like floors and roofs later on and boundaries for shafts, all of that kind of stuff, and drawing our walls in, we use these tools for that, and you'll see that as we get into our next demonstrations, our next lessons, and when you go on to sit on a course or anything like that, you will see how it all starts to work, okay? But this is just to help you transition between how we know things in our standard native 2D CAD system and how we know it in Revit, okay? Revit's not perfect. There's a couple of things that I would like to see change, I do admit, but there's so much that I love, okay? I'm an architectural technician. I still do drawing work myself. I would never use anything other than this, and I wouldn't lie to you. I don't use this because I'm being paid to tell you to use this. I use this and teach this because I know how much better it is than doing things in the standard native 2D CAD way that we've all done for years, okay? I've been doing it for quite a long time now, doing this, and for quite a long time I've been trying to get people to use this. It's sometimes difficult. Over the past year, obviously, you may have all noticed there's a massive influx of people coming over and starting to use this software now. So I know I don't need to sell it to you. The fact that you're here looking at it to start off with, okay, means that you're interested in it and you're probably kind of seeing things. What I'm going to be doing next after this little demonstration, I'm going to be giving you another demonstration on just very quickly how we can throw in the plans and a quick planning drawing for a very simple house, okay? It's going to take me about an hour and a quarter to get the plans, sections, elevations, maybe a couple of isometric, some perspective camera views, maybe throw a quick render in there or two, maybe throw a quick window schedule, a door schedule, some area schedules, that kind of stuff. But basically we're going to have the planning drawings for a house, this little 2-up, 2-down house, in just a little over an hour, okay, which is about the same time it's taken me to show you these basic tools, okay, for drawing lines, okay. Now, I look forward to seeing you all again, and hopefully you've enjoyed the little demonstration that I've done there, okay. If you've got any questions, please feel free to contact me, okay. I've got my webpage, okay, www.intouch-cad.co.uk. feel free to go onto there. It's a work in progress at the minute, but I'm going to be posting all of this stuff onto it, and we're going to be building up a lot more information and some help files on there as well. Okay. Also, please look for me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. It's James Parsons Moore, and it's hyphenated. Okay, feel free to contact me. I've got a page on there as well for people who have just started Revit. There's lots and lots of forums out there for people who have been using Revit for years, and for people who are asking questions on like advanced family creation, parameters, that kind of stuff. But for the people, you guys that are just starting to learn Revit, for the ones who are just at the beginning of it, you're the ones who are going to have the most questions, and I found that there isn't enough kind of resources out there for you guys. So what I've done, I've created a group on LinkedIn. It's called Revit New Users. Feel free to go on there. I'll be posting this on there, and all of my demonstrations and all of my little tips and tricks that I do, I'm going to be posting them on there for you guys. Okay, I'm there to help. Please feel free to look on there. If there's anything you're ever interested in, whether it's training or prices of software, please feel free to contact me as well. I've got basically contacts, so I've got partnerships with lots of the resellers and that kind of thing, and I'm basically involved in all of those, and I can put you in touch with people who can get you some good discounts on this software. Okay. Now, again, thank you very much for listening in for the past hour or so. I've just slipped over an hour. I want to keep it to an hour, but again, thank you very much for looking in, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.